Hey everyone, welcome back to Code with Poonam. This is day 46 of our 100 days of coding challenge in JavaScript. Today's challenge is all about to check if a date is a future date or not. So here we will have to determine whether the date lies in the future if it is compared to the current date. So let's proceed with this challenge and we will move to our VS Code. In the VS Code, if we see, we have here our question, right? Along with the sample input and output. Okay. So let us read out this question. What we have to do, we have to write a JavaScript function that takes a date as an input and returns true if it is in the future, otherwise false. So this is our sample input given to us and this is our output. Okay, so we have to compare it with the current date, whatever the input date will be provided to us. So we will come here and we will first break down this particular question. I will write here what JavaScript function. Okay, that's the first thing. After that, what it is written in this question that we have to take date as an input. Okay, so this also I will put it here. And what after that it is written that it should return true. So when it should return true, when it's a future date, right? So I will take this and I will put it over here, future date. Otherwise, it should return what? It should return false. So I will write here what? Past date. So for the past date, it should be false. For the future date, it should be true. Okay. Now, since this question is related to the future date and the past date, so we will come here and we will define our function as what is future date like this. Okay. So let us come here and write here is future date with a parenthesis. Okay. Let us come here and understand the approach. Okay. So I will write here the approach. And in this question, we are going to use our date constructor function. Now, by this time, many of y'all would have already guessed that we are going to use a date constructor function itself. Why? Because in the previous challenges, we have used it and also we have understood how to use that and how can we use the methods of the date constructor function, right? So how do we write this date constructor function? By using a new keyword, right? So let us see what does the new keyword do. New keyword helps us to create a instance of the date object, right? So how we write it? We are going to write it like this, right? New date with a parenthesis, right? Now, this what it do? It generates the current date and time, right? So it generates what? Current date and time. This all we are going to see it in the console, okay, right now. So in this question, we are going to use this new date with the parenthesis. Let us see how. So what I will do it, I will just write here what? Console.log, and in this I am going to write what? New and date with a parenthesis. And now let us just test in the terminal what we get it over here. So we will just test up here. So I will write here what? Node day 46 challenge and I will hit enter. Okay. So what do we get? I get the today's date and my current timestamp. So this is what? Current date and timestamp I am getting it. Now in this we can pass our date which we are getting it from this input, right? So I will take this date input and I will pass it here and we will see what do we get. So I write here what? Console.log and I will write here what? New date. And in this double quotes, I will pass that date string. Okay. Now let us rerun it one more time. So I will write here node day 46 challenge and I will hit enter. So what do we see here? In the first here, we are getting the current date and time. And in the second line, what we are getting here, it is 1st January 2025, which has been passed here. And since I'm not passing the timestamp, it is giving me 00, right? So this is what is the difference between both of them. So now we can see what is the current date, what is the future date. So we are going to compare it. How we are going to compare it? We will be using here the operator. What is the operator? Greater than operator we will be using. So what is a greater than operator? It is this operator. So we are going to use this. So what we will write here, that this new date, okay, this new date with the string which we are passing, if this is greater than, okay, if this is greater than the current date, then we have to say that it's a future date, right? Then only we will say. So if we are doing this, then I will write here what? It's a future date, okay? Otherwise, it's a past date. If it turns out to be false, then it would be what? Past date, right? So I am going to write it like this. So to achieve this future date, past date, the conditions are met. So what we will do, we will be using here if else statement, okay? And in the if condition, we will be passing out this condition. And if it turns out to be true, it will give me a future date. If it turns out to be false, it will go to the else block and it will give me the past date, okay? This is what we are going to use it. So once again, I will repeat it. If the input date is greater than our current date, okay, then it will return true, indicating that it's a future date. Otherwise, it is going to return as false. So I will write here what? True. Okay, and I'll write here what? False. Correct? So this is what it is going to do. So otherwise, it is going to return false, indicating that it's a past date. Okay, so this is what is the approach we are going to use it. Now we will come down and we will create our function. So let's jump right into the code now from here. So we will come here and what we will do, we will write our function. And what is our function name? We have decided that is future date with a parenthesis, right? So I will invoke it. Now in this question, I am going to pass my input string, right? So we have to pass our argument. So I will take this from here because this was the sample input, right? So I will take this 1st January 2025 and let us pass it over here in the double quotes, okay? So this is what our argument, and I will receive here as what? Params. So I will just write here as a date. And now let us just console our date and see whether we are able to get it or not. So I will write here date and we will come in the terminal and we will rerun this particular file. So we will write no date 46 challenge and I will hit enter. So what do we get? We get our date string. That means this function is running. We have written a correct function, okay? So I will just comment it out. Otherwise, whenever we are running this file, we will get the timestamp and the date from here, okay? So that is why I commented out. Now we will come here and we will complete our comparison, okay? So what we will do, I will write here what? If statement, okay? And in this, we are supposed to pass our condition. So what is a condition? New date, and in this we will pass our date, right? So if you see here, we are passing the string here. So this is nothing but our date itself. It is going to receive here, and this we are using here, right? And the sign will be what? Greater than sign, correct? And then I will write once again new date with a parenthesis, right? And here I will write flower braces. Right now I'm just writing console.log true, okay? Later on, I will take it from the sample output, what it is actually printing. So I will write here true, and we will come here in the else block and I will write here what? False. So console.log false, I will write it. Now let us run it in the terminal once again. So I will write here what? Node day 46 challenge and I will hit enter. So what do we get? We got here true. That means yes, it's a future date, right? Currently we are at what? 3rd December 2024. That is what we were getting again and again, right? Whenever I was running, I was getting this particular date, right? So obviously it is the future date. We can also see. And this function is also executing as for us the same. So it's a future date, right? So now let us come here and we had one more input, right? So let us take this input as well. So what we will do, we will come here and we will invoke it one more time. I will write here is future date and I will pass this particular string. Now what it is 1st December 2024. That means 2 days before. So obviously it is a past date. So it should give me a false, right? So let us come here and we will write what? Node day 46 challenge and I will hit enter. So what do we get? Yes, we are getting what? False. So for this particular date, 1st January 2025, we are getting true. And for a date 1st December 2024, which was 2 days before, we are getting false. That means it's a past date, right? Now we will come here and we will write it the way it was expected from us. So true, it's an future date. So I will take it here and I will put it over here in this double quotes, right? And now once again, we will go for the false statement also. And I will take this and I will put it over here, okay? So then let us update this and now we will just come here and we will clear the terminal and we will rerun it, okay? So note day 46 challenge and I will hit enter. So what do we get? Yes, it's a future date, and false, it's an past date. So we are able to successfully get this, right? So this is what it was expected from us, guys. So this question was demanding from us that whenever we are passing a date from here, it should check whether it's a future date or not. That is where we have written just our if else condition. There can be more ways to solve this, but I found this approach very simpler and easiest one. So we can follow this approach, okay? We will just comment this out, line number 22, and we will save here and we will clear the terminal one more time and we will rerun it, okay? Now what do we get? True, it's an future date. False, it's an past date for both of them. If you want, you can pass here date also and you can more improvise your console.log statement, okay? So let's have a quick recap of this question. So what we have to do here is we have to write a function that takes a date as an input and returns true if it's in a future, otherwise false. And it was being given us sample input and output as well, right? So at line number 7, what we did, first of all, we have break down this question, right? So we wrote our JavaScript function here and we defined our function name as what is future date with a parenthesis. And in line number 8, we understood that if we take date as an input, it has to be printed as true if it's a future date, otherwise print false if it is a past date, right? So at line number 10, we wrote our approach and we understood that we have to use a date constructor function to work with the date and time, right? And here we used a new keyword. Why? Because it is used to create a new instance of a date object, right? So how do we write it? We write new space date with a parenthesis, and this is going to give us what? Current date and time. And we just tested here how it is going to be used in our function. So what we wrote at line number 15, console.log new date with a parenthesis, and it gave me what? Current date and time, right? So we were getting here current date and we were getting here the date which we were passing it, right? And the timestamp were 0, and here we got the timestamp as the current timestamp, right? So we easily understood that by comparing it, we can easily get our desired output, right? So then if we have to compare, we will have to use a comparison operator, right? So what we wrote in the left side with a new date, the date string which we have to pass it, right? The sample input we passed it. And here the current date, that is new date with a parenthesis, right? And if this turns out to be true, give me a future date. And if this turns out to be false, give me a past date. And for that, we used what? If else statement, right? So if this condition is true, give me the future date as a true, and otherwise give me the past date. So we used here what? If else statements. We came here at line number 21 and we wrote our function, and the function name was what? Is future date, correct? In the parenthesis, we are receiving the params as a date, right? Then we went inside and we use our if else statement and we wrote our condition, right? And then we got our console.log statement here, right? That true, it's a future date. And in a else block, we wrote our false statement that yes, it's a false statement and it's a past date, right? So that is how we wrote our if condition, and we properly wrote our console.log statement as well as per the output, correct? And then at line number 30 and 31, we invoked it properly with the different arguments, right? So I will clear this terminal, and once again, I will write here what? Note day 46 challenge, and I will hit enter. What do I get? True and false. That is what it was expected from us, right? So this is what we have done it. You can try out with different input date strings, okay? Why this challenge is important, I'll tell you guys. Because working with the dates is a fundamental task in many applications, from scheduling systems to reminders and event plannings, right? JavaScript date object is highly versatile, allowing for easy comparison, formatting, and calculations. Also, I have used this date constructor function in my previous videos as well. So do watch those videos or those challenges and don't forget to practice, okay? So that's all for today, guys. So don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more daily coding content. And I will see you all tomorrow with another exciting problem. Thank you so much, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.